Sheffield Wednesday are 4 times English champions and 3 times FA Cup winners, and have spent most of their history in the top flight of English football. However, they have not played at that level since being relegated in the year 2000. Since then, they have spent much of their time in the Championship, but have had spells in League One, and that's where they found themselves in the 21-22 season after being relegated from the Championship. However, last season under the leadership of Darren Moore, they were promoted back to the Championship after winning the playoff final against Barnsley. But the happiness didn't last long, as Moore left the club in the summer by mutual consent. The club are now on their second manager since Moore and find themselves bottom of the Championship after just 1 win and 3 draws in their first 16 games. In today's video, I'm taking over the Owls for 1 season on FM24 to see if we can keep them out of a relegation scrap. And with only being able to add to the current squad using the £250,000 budget, I would have my work cut out. I had already got to grips with making the staff the best I could for the season ahead, as it was looking pretty bleak when I first joined. After trying and then failing to bring in defensive midfielder Peter Etterbo, I turned my attention to defensive midfielder Jean-Philippe Bamin, who was available on a free deal. And I was once again kicking myself as we missed out on experienced centre-back Daniel Ayala, who joined Coventry City on a free deal. However, experienced striker Nikola Kalinic did join the club on a free deal after being released from Hajduk Split. We missed out on defensive midfielder Bamin, who joined Bristol City, but we did manage to get Josh Onoma over the line on a free transfer. He was closely followed by defensive midfielder Alfred Ndiaye, who had spent last season at Malaga, and centre-back Liam Moore had joined the club just in time for the opening day fixture against Southampton, where we sent the home fans home happy with a 3-0 win, with Kalinic getting his first goal for the club. And after beating League One Carlisle to get through to the second round of the Carabao Cup, we were trounced 5-1 away at Hull City. But we made it 2 wins in 2 at Hillsborough as Josh Windass fired in the winner against Preston. And despite being 2-1 up in the game away at Cardiff in the 77th minute, we still managed to lose the game as Ramsey fired in the winner for the home side. But we finished August off on a high, beating League One Cheltenham in the Carabao Cup second round with a hat-trick performance from Windass. This saw us drawn in a tasty away tie away at Tottenham in the 3rd round. It was a tough start to September as we were beaten away at Leeds 3-0. But another goal from Kalinic saw us draw against Ipswich in our next game to keep our unbeaten home record going. A 0-0 home draw with Middlesbrough followed with a man of the match performance from goalkeeper Cameron Dawson. I felt a change was needed for our next game away at Swansea, so changed the system from this to this in a hope that we could turn our fortunes on the road around. And it seemed to work, as 2 goals from Marvin Johnson sealed a 2-1 win and our first away win of the season. Next up was the FA Cup 3rd round tie away at Tottenham, where the lads did themselves proud, but we were sent out by a single Matasar goal. After going behind against table-topping Sunderland in our next game, goals from Smith and Delgado sealed a 2-1 win. So we had lost just 1 league game in a tough-looking September, and we now sat 10th in the league on 14 points from 9 games. We started off October dominating the game away at West Brom, but could only manage a 2-2 draw. Next up was Darren Moore's Huddersfield Town, and we smashed them 4-2 with Kalinic once again getting on the score sheet. This saw us climb to 7th place, and we now looked a million miles away from a relegation scrap. We lost 3-1 away at Watford in our next game, but a 1-1 draw away at Plymouth and a win over Rotherham meant that we finished October on a high, and we were still unbeaten in the league this season at home. November started off brilliantly with a 4-1 away win at Bristol City. This was followed by a 0-0 home draw to Millwall, but injuries to fullback Reece James and winger Marvin Johnson gave me a selection headache ahead of our next game away to Birmingham City. But I needn't have worried, as a second half hat-trick from Barry Bannon sealed a 3-1 win, which saw us sitting in 5th place in the Championship, and we were now just 7 points away from 2nd place Norwich. November ended, and so did our unbeaten home record, as we lost 1-0 to table-topping Leicester City. And things weren't going to get any easier in December, as we had a massive 7 Championship games coming up. We started the month in style with a 4-1 win over 3rd place Blackburn, with goals from Windass and Kalinic sealing an emphatic win. There was bad news from the game though, as defender Liam Palmer would be out for 4 weeks with sprained ankle ligaments. But it didn't seem to affect us, as Kalinic headed in to grab the points at Stoke. But a trip to 2nd place Norwich was always going to be tricky, and we lost the game 2-0. And just 3 days later we shared the points with QPR, with 2 goals from Michael Smith earning a 2-2 draw. But just a week later we were back to winning ways, with goals from Johnson and Kalinic sending Cardiff home empty-handed. Just 2 games remained in December, and we still sat in 6th place in the table on 39 points halfway through the season. We beat Coventry 3-1 in our next game with a hat-trick from Michael Smith, and we finished off December in style with a 95th minute winner at Preston. And we carried on our great form into the new year, as another hat-trick from Smith and goals from Johnson and Josh Windass sealed a 5-2 win against 5th place Hull City. A draw in the FA Cup 3rd round against Reading meant we would face a replay away from home. However, we just couldn't stop winning in the league, and goals from Bannon and Anoma sealed a 2-1 win away at Southampton. And it took extra time in the FA Cup replay, but we got past Reading in the end, beating them 3-2. This sent us into the 4th round, where we had a home tie against Premier League Burnley. Smith scored his 13th goal of the season against Coventry to help us to a 3-0 home win. It was FA Cup 4th round day, and a 92nd minute winner from Windass saw us get past Burnley. And we finished off January with another win, as Will Vogt scored the winner against Watford. This saw us stretch our unbeaten run to 11 games, but with the transfer window coming to a close, we had no money to strengthen the squad, so I would have to hope that this group of players could keep performing miracles until the end of the season. February got off to a bad start, as we lost 1-0 at Yorkshire neighbours Huddersfield, and just a week later we were beaten once again, as Birmingham beat us 2-1 at Hillsborough. We needed to get back on track, and a 2-2 draw at tabletoppers Leicester was a great result. The result seemed to spur us on, and we won 3-1 away at Millwall in our next game, before drawing 0-0 at home to Bristol City. And just 4 days later we faced Bristol again in the FA Cup 5th round, where goals from Diaby and Michael Smith sent us into the quarter-final. So at the end of a mixed February, we sat in 4th place in the Championship table on 62 points, with just 12 games left to play. A defeat at the start of March to Rotherham and a draw against Plymouth, followed by a defeat at home to Leeds United, meant that we had dropped down to 6th place in the Championship, but we were still 5 points clear of 7th place Birmingham City. And there was to be no trip to Wembley for the Owls fans this year, as Brighton beat us 3-0 in the quarter-final. But we did give the home fans something to cheer about, as we finished off March with a win against Swansea. April was a busy month, with 7 Championship games coming up that would make or break our season. April got off to a decent start with a 1-1 draw away at Middlesbrough, which we followed up with a great 2-1 win away at struggling QPR. But a 3-2 home defeat to 2nd place Norwich meant that we were clinging on to a playoff position on goal difference, with just 5 games left to play. The first of these was a home match against Stoke, where we could only manage a 3-3 draw. But we followed this up with a great 3-1 win away at Ipswich to keep our playoff dream alive. Unfortunately, a defeat away at Blackburn and a 2-2 draw at home to West Brom meant that we had to better Southampton's last day result to grab a playoff place. And Leeds did us a massive favour by beating Southampton 2-1. But we fell at the final hurdle and could not secure a playoff place, as Sunderland and beat us 3-0. Despite the last day heartbreak, it had been a great season where we had finished 7th place after being predicted to finish in 21st. So everyone, that's the end of the video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. We set out at the start to keep Sheffield Wednesday out of the relegation scrap that they face in real life. We certainly did that as we finished in 7th position, just missing out on the playoffs, which was unfortunate. Let's hope they can turn it round in real life as they are a massive club. If you have enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel, hit the like button and let me know in the comments if there's any clubs you'd like to see me do. But until the next video, goodbye from me.